there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Course, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. This is what it used to look like. Ooh, I got one that was mailed to me. This is the archive, March, April 2015. Mr. Joe Mappa, President Riley and Hotel Group. Joe, thanks for gracing the cover. This was a good-looking issue, and I always look and see what my picture was here. I had my lacrosse shirt on. I got more lacrosse stuff going here, but that's what I was looking like back there. My hair, I had a little more hair, and it was a little darker. I'm getting gray up there. So in 8 years, I'm trying to keep it up here, but and every day it gets a little less. So what are you going to do? But sure do. Yep. Love holding the magazine in my hand, but we went digital in August of 2021, and haven't looked back since. It's been a wild ride on the wild web and being digital, and don't miss the post office or the printer and all that good stuff. But it's always nice to hold a magazine in the hand. We still have a print on demand service. So if anybody is in the magazine or gets featured and they want to get a copy, we can do it because we still lay it out, with high res and all that kind of stuff. But we're a digital guy now. So, but I want to thank everybody out there that's tuning in. And if you're hitting the website and consuming our content, we had 29 million people hit the website. I was just looking at my stats the other day, and if I keep my momentum up, I'll probably break 30 million this year, which would be great. And we have some software tools that get rid of all the bots and all that stuff. So my stats are legit when I say what they are. It's nice to see, all the unique users coming back. I always tell people, you should go back. You should come to the site once a week and see what's going on, because we post stuff every day on all the channels. And, listen, commercial construction, facilities, real estate in the sector, it's just, it's a wild ride. The day goes like that, and boom, the next day comes and all sorts of stuff can happen. So marking it as a bookmark, once or twice a month is a really good place to go and just to see what's kind of going on. So I want to thank all you for out there for, being loyal visitors and making CCR magazine a destination site. Listen, today's almost the weekend. It's Thursday here in Atlanta, and it is sizzling hot. Not a cloud in the sky, hot and humid, dog days of summer. And school's going to start here in about less than 2 weeks here in the South, but they get out in the middle of May, and then they go back in early August. So up north, where I'm from, outside of Philly, it was Labor Day weekend, and then you went back to school. So you go to school till June, get the summer out, and then you go back in early September. But here, the buses will be back on the road, kids at the bus stop, and all in all, I'll take another month of the heat, maybe a little hot in September, but then it starts cooling down. It's so nice here in the fall. It's just really, really nice once the humidity gets out of here. But it's really, really hot. So if you're out there on the construction site, make sure you're drinking lots of water, stay hydrated. So with that said, I've got a really cool guest. Publicist reached out to me, and I was reading the press release, and I'm a digital guy these days, so I've taken some boot camps and I'm learning all this stuff. And this gentleman's out in the Bay Area, in the tech area. His name is Dijam Panigrahi. Did I say it right?
Yeah, Dijam Panigrahi. That's all right.
Panigrahi, there you go. Yeah. And he's the co-founder of a platform called GridRaster. And,
that's correct.
Thank you. And it's basically he helps construction companies, and it could be end users or people that are affiliated to the field, as technology progresses in the AR and the VR, which is augmented reality and virtual reality in the metaverse, comes into play. Construction companies really need to know what the technology can do, and being at the forefront might be able to land, projects, but also help your projects as well along the way. And that's why I had Dijam on to talk about his platform and, where it came from and where it's going to go. And like I said, it might be something that you might want to look at because being at the beginning of anything, it's just like Walmart. They had one store. So if you were at the beginning of that stage way back when, in Bentonville, Arkansas, and now look where they are today, look where you'd be. So here's an opportunity to find out about new technology and, see where it might be able to, assist you and maybe, scale your business and so forth. So Dijam, the way this is going to work is we're going to do it in 3 parts. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, wife, kids, where you went to school, and how you ended up in the Bay Area at GridRaster. And then we'll talk about the last 3 years of the roller coaster that we've all been on, and lessons learned that some of our listeners out there in commercial construction coffee talk might find of interest. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase, your contact info, and then we'll close this episode down. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Thanks, David. Thanks for having me here.
Pleasure.
Yeah, it's a long journey. I need to get back a little bit. Okay, so yeah, no, so pretty much like I have always been intrigued by science and engineering throughout. So that's what kind of I landed up being part of an institute I think everybody knows right now, like Indian Institute of Technology, right? A lot of the CEOs you would see today, like all around the world, really have some background coming from there. So, for example, Sundar Pichai, who is the CEO of Google, he is my alumni. So, just for the
Nice.
context, yeah. So yeah, so I kind of did my engineering over there, mostly on the electrical electronic side of thing. I've always been fascinated with all that there around the stuff that you're doing, the instruments and the tools and everything else. And then I kind of landed up in one of the companies that everybody knows, that's Texas Instruments, right? So pretty deep tech, working on like maybe the first headset that you would have ever had.
Calculator.
The calculators, starting from there. Yeah, you got it right. So the calculator, starting from the calculators to even the first dual use smartphones, everything basically, if you ever had a Nokia, Ericsson, Motor, any of that, like you pretty much had that TI chipset there. So I kind of worked for 6 7 years on those high tech background, like nobody sees kind of a thing, futuristic. I did work there for a while, and then we got some really great products coming out from there. I personally, for me, the journey from the medium, like enabling voice, then enabling video, enabling the voice over IP, that whole generation, how that medium has evolved over the years is something that I have been part of throughout in some, whether it's Texas Instrument, Freescale Semiconductors, then getting into the telecom world, like in India, the Airtel of the world and all of that. I kind of made my journey to enable this new immersive medium, and that's what kind of landed me here in the Bay Area. And we started the company back in 2014. Actually, conceived the idea in 2014, but formally kind of started that in 2015 as a company. And it has been a roller coaster ride for us. And a lot of that work that I have done over the last 20 years kind of is a great culmination that is happening here. And the company, I mean, we're taking advantage of other advancements that, so not only like you're enabling AR, but how are you leveraging the technological improvement that is happening on the headsets, the network, the cloud, and even now the AI, right? So we're kind of getting it all together to serve different industry, whether it's aerospace, defense, construction, automotive. So honestly, the technology, I think this is the technology which empowers the frontline workers. We have seen technology which empowers the desk workers. Enough of that, right? But this is something that brings such an ammunition to the frontline workers. It's just mind-boggling.
Yeah. Listen, I had a Texas Instrument calculator. I'm giving my age away. I also learned, when I was in junior high school, we had, had shop class and we used the slide rule. So I've progressed, through the area. Now I'm a digital guy and I'm doing all this stuff. And technology right now is at warp speed. I'm in this digital class. I've taken 3 boot camps this year, and I've learned all sorts of stuff: ClickFunnels, GetResign, and all that stuff. And then I did the AI and chatting, and now I'm in this TikTok class and learning how to scale my business. And I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos and all this stuff. And TikTok's kind of the new. It's like the new platform where people are marketing. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I'm up to almost 12,000 followers and all over the world, and I just put up maybe 4 or 5 videos, and it's insane. It's just and now I'm going to get them to opt in. I'm going to market to them, and I'm putting in these applications on my magazine with cloning my voice and, you know, making my magazine interactive and trying to do all these things. But it's so exciting. But like I said, my you know, technology, you know, my instructor said, hey, you know, by the time you finish this class, everything you learn is going to be obsolete because everything's moving so quickly, you know, whether it's AI or just technology, but you'll have the foundation. And in fact, like you're a software tech guy. So you know, for my funnels and stuff, you know, I had ClickFunnels, I had a GetResponse, Cloudflare, ClickMagic, Keep, you know, I have all this stuff and all the design. I must have like 15 different things, 15 different. So now so these designers that are hooked up with these guys, and a lot of these guys are 8, 9, 10 figure. I mean, we're talking, and they're all young. They're all really young guys. Anyway, they have this new platform that I'm going at, and they put everything into one. So I'm getting rid of all that stuff, and I got one login. And the biggest thing is that on the one platform, everything's in there. Zapier too, kind of like, anyway, everything works together. Before, if you had one little thing not clicked or just set up correctly, nothing would work. And it was, you know, not frustrating, but it can be aggravating. You know, you have to look at it and go, where, you know, what don't I have checked? Why isn't this working? And so these guys were agency and software dudes, and they put it together. I'm like, oh, thank you so much for doing this for me, because it's so much easier to log in one. But technology, you know, it's just crazy, you know. And listen, I was a print face-to-face guy. So when you know, March 2020 came and everything got shut down, everybody had to make reasons. I was just lucky. I had a digital magazine forever. I just ignored it. I had it there because if someone wanted to go there, they could have it. And now, you know, I'm just addicted to data and learning. And a lot of my visitors that come to our site, 90% of them find me on Google on page one. I've never bought a word because I have all this content. So I built it up, you know, organically. And they get into the backside. They come through the back end. I say it's the back door of my house. They come through the back door through Google, and then, you know, they look and they see other stuff. And it's just, I learn something new every day. The day I stop learning is the day I should go do something else, you know, in my opinion. Am I right? Am I right?
No, I think if you're somebody who is kind of closely kind of following technology, not really getting what I say, I think overawed by that. I know it can run at very speed, but for your purposes, as long as you know what you're doing, there's enough that will be happening that will keep you busy forever.
Oh yeah. You know, and of course they're always trying to come up with new stuff to pitch you. And it was funny. I had a guy that sent me. He was doing follow-up. He sent me this thing about, hey, I do this newsletter. You can do this and that, and it can talk to all the other software programs. And he called me up today, and I said, Brandon, listen, I kept your stuff. I'm in, you know, and I'll take a look at it. But really, you know, timing your business is everything. And, you know, if it's applicable and it'll save me time and it's worthwhile, you know, we'll go for it. But at this point, you know, right now, you know, I'm doing all this other stuff. I'm going to production for my magazine. So but really technology, it's just an amazing thing. You know, this phone, this is your gateway to the whole world. This is the most important tool that you can have right here. Personal email and phone. If you have that, you can be whoever you want to be on the web. There's 8 billion people on the planet. They're all on the web, and they're all doing stuff. And it's, you know, whatever you're marketing, you know, GridRaster, you're marketing my magazine, whatever it might be. So it's just an amazing. I'm enlightened every day that I go and I look at stuff. So, but that's really why I had you on there, because I'm interested in the AR and the VR and the metaverse, and you know, buying, you know, digital real estate, and you know, all of these things that are out there. So let's you know, give our audience out there a commercial construction coffee talk, kind of just a ballpark, you know, as far as what GridRaster really does in terms of, you know, construction companies. And then we'll talk about like the last 3 years and things that you went through that our listeners, you know, can take a couple of your knowledge nuggets and say, hey, that was a really good idea. Why didn't we do that? So please expand.
Absolutely. I think one of the easiest way I can put like what GridRaster is, like, we have all gone through this journey in the movie world, right? Like, we had at some point of time, you know, in order to watch a movie, you had a DVD player. You used to get the CDs, put it there, and play it and see the movie, and you know, get it on rent, and just, or if you really like it, you buy it and keep it. That's how it has been, right? And then came somebody called Netflix, right? Which allowed you to kind of stream those movies without even having any of those DVDs physically, right? So in a way, like why I kind of gave the example is today, like it's the world in terms of getting those experiences on all these headsets, whether it's a VR headset or AR headset today, you invariably go and download those stuff, put it on the device, then you watch whatever you need to do or get some of the work done when it's on the enterprise side, right? So what we are envisioning that okay, this is something particularly for the medium, that this medium is almost like, you putting, you remember the days when you have to have the buffering thing that used to come and you used to download something and then something happened at the back end and all of that went away. That back end was what we are kind of doing in a way for the immersive side, right? So for example, the buffering thing went away because there is a company called Akamai who came in and they brought all the storage closer to you where the content is. And that way they can quickly over the network be able to provide you the content that you're looking for. But there is at the back end, there's a lot of algorithms that is running to ensure that this really happens. The same problem is going to be, the problem is maybe going to be 100-fold when it comes to the immersive medium compared to the video. Because all of a sudden, when you put this device on front of you, you're not no more looking at like a 14-inch screen. It could be 100-inch screen, right? You're right in front of there, and you're trying to mimic that. I'm creating a realistic environment for you. So every pixel has to be picture perfect, like absolutely, right? So in order to do that, there's a huge amount of computing power that is required. There's a huge amount of storage that is required, right? And we believe that, and the need for the devices is to be something like this. Devices of today is pretty bulky.
Yeah, they're bulky.
Yeah, it's pretty heavy. It's not something that a large mass of people is ever going to wear it. So what is going to go is it is going to go this direction. If it has to go in this direction, and we know there's a huge compute need that is required to be there, the computing, the processors, the battery, the memory, and everything, all of that has to come from somewhere. So the way we see it is that somewhere is nothing, but it's the cloud, right? Not the cloud the way everybody knows today, that there is some big farm of servers where like everything is there and you basically get some. No, that's not the cloud anymore. The way the cloud is going to happen is that they're going to be like distributed in nature. Like there'll be chunks of servers that'll be there pretty close to you, like maybe the base station of your telecom tower. That could be a huge server farm which is there. That's the only way you can really ensure that you are able to bring in the compute resources that is required, but also bring in the latency. Basically, once you move your head, the scene should move along with you. If all those things has to happen, the trip has to be very small. That cannot be more than 20 milliseconds, right? So this is what is basically at the back end that is happening. Not many people are aware of, but this is the infrastructure that is being laid out at the back end. What we are doing is we are taking advantage of this, disruption that is happening on the infrastructure piece, on the cloud side of the thing, and this drive towards the devices to become this. We basically kind of build our algorithms so that we can bring in the Netflix kind of experience streaming from all this new cloud environment which is building up, so that you can consume any kind of immersive experiences seamlessly without any latency and without the need for kind of having some bulky device like this. So that's our goal, and that's what we are working towards. And primarily, it will reach to the consumer at some stage, but as with most of the technology, like it will find its way to the enterprise. So you most of the people may get introduced to this like a PC, right? Most of the people got introduced through their office work or their, the part of their work. And then slowly we got our personal computers, right? That's the journey that's pretty much is going to happen for here as well.
So talk about like we're in the construction sector,
Sure.
Design, build, maintain. That's kind of our, editorial target line. Yeah. So talk about how someone that's let's say they're a general contractor, or I'm the director of construction of ABC, retail, whatever it might be. And how could I use AR and VR to improve my efficiency of, maybe I'm going to roll out a new prototype, and then I want to, make sure that all the other new stores that I build, or restaurants or whatever they might be, that they're going to be the same, although they all look a little different, but they still want to have that. Like if you go into, let's say, a clothing store that's a chain, they got stores all over, and you go to one out in the West Coast, and then you go to one in Atlanta or New York, and you're looking for a pair of jeans. They're going to kind of be in the same area, but it'll be laid out, but you'll know where, hey, I know where that is. It's going to be in that right corner of the store. So if I'm on a construction site and I'm building a restaurant, and they all are kind of the same, we know where the back end of the cooking's done, and there's going to be bathrooms, and there might be some dining, and they're going to drive a window. So talk about how you're, the things that you're working on, especially if, hey, I could sit in my office. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but this is what I envision it. I'm the director of construction of ABC retailer, and I'm sitting in my office, and instead of looking at my plans, I can actually put my goggles on, or glasses or whatever, and I can just sit there and look around and go, hey, that's going to be a problem. I won't have if I fix that now during construction, I won't have a punch list item when I turn the keys over. Am I right?
Absolutely. So you are touching the tip of the iceberg. Okay. So fundamentally, like, this medium is absolutely going to change the complete process in which you really the buildings are kind of, brought up, right? Right from the conceptualization of the stage, right from the, like, wherever you have all these approvals that you kind of bring in.
Well, like in construction,
in construction.
So let me just lay it out there, and then you can walk it through us. So first, you got to have, okay, we want to build 20 more stores next year. Okay. So I got to go find the site. I got to go get the lease signed, and then I got to go to all the permitting, whatever, so I can start building. But during that time period, I'm going to have the architects, the engineers, the store planners, whichever way you're set up, or internally, or you outsource it. And they're going to just like you're building a house, you're going to get some blueprints, you're going to design it, and then you're going to get the sign off, and then you're going to go and turn it over to the construction portion.
Yeah.
You're going to build it. And then afterwards, that facility guy or the property manager or whatever it might be is going to maintain it over X amount of years. And, and like in retail, every 3 to 5 years, they refresh new FF&E, whatever it might be, but they're always putting out new prototypes. But this is going to enable you to nip things in the, just fix things ahead of time, and you can visually see it.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
The whole idea is, just think of it that before you even kind of get any engineering work start anywhere, you are in a way can take that store, almost like operate it in a virtual environment, and just be able to decide the entire course that will go through, right? And what it allows you, right, you realize that a lot of these operational problems that really come up, like across the industry, could have been fixed at a design stage, right? And what this medium allows you is, because you can now conceptualize anything that you want to do, you can conceptualize in the virtual environment first. You can actually iterate and, ideate, iterate, do all of that with pools of people who could not be even at the same place. You could get an expert who you really want to get a look at that store. But today, unless they travel, they can't do that. Today, you can bring them into that virtual environment and get whatever, advice or any, look or a review of that anywhere in the world, right? So you do that. Even if you go to the site, once you, the site recce that they do, right? Like, does it even, like, we know maybe the look of it can fit, but can I take that even recce? Because you can now today map using a HoloLens or even a tablet, you can map the environment and bring that environment back to your construction 3D model that you already have it, and try to see, like, if there is anything specific that can bother because of the site and the location, right? You can simulate each and every element of the store in the virtual environment and just see that, like, would it impact for whatever reasons, all of that variables you can really create. And you can even see that, okay, would that pose, all that in the pipings, or, all that construction elements, that are the electrical wirings and all of that, is there anything that's going to pose a problem when you are going to kind of do the maintenance of that, right? All of that actually you can simulate end to end, even if you take a decision that what that store is going to look like, right? That's first piece. So that allows you, saves you a ton of cost if you detect all those mistakes down the road, right? That's first.
Yeah, up front. Yeah,
upfront. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It can, so practically you could eliminate maybe like the usually like we have seen in this industry, like for example, in aerospace industry, they have seen like 7 out of the 10 issues that really creep in. After the aircrafts are made, just it's primarily it could have been taken care of the design stage itself. And all of this are high capital, all the construction, aerospace, all of them pretty high capital intensive, sectors, right? And anything you build, if you don't take care early in the cycle, it can cost you a ton, right? So that's what, like, that's the biggest thing that's kind of happening there. The second is like once you are there, right, like the construction work kind of begins, you can actually use because you already have what my construction site needs to look like, right? You can use those in holographic inspection. Basically, you can use those headsets to look at how this construction is happening. And you can actually compare that. Is the progress happening the way that it should be, right? Today, like somewhere like the drones and all they use, this can give you a spatial accuracy that which doesn't exist if you don't have the depth cameras and all, right? It can give you a spatial accuracy. And that you can track the projects, how that kind of is coming up. And there are dashboards, there are companies who have made dashboards that automatically fetches all of the way you got everything integrated, right? It's similar to that, right? It can tell you how the progress is. It can even detect that, okay, the structure should look, the ideal structure is this, but I see a deviation there. It can actually highlight without the visual inspection of the humans that, okay, I see a deviation, because you're creating a digital twin of it, then you're trying to compare them. So once you are able to compare them, you can tell, no, I see a difference here from how it should be. You can catch all of that pretty early in the cycle, which ensures once you have this entire site, even done, like what throughout the construction process, it will kind of expedite that process as well, right? So, and ensure that there are no mistakes that are happening, and which, like, anywhere the humans are involved, there is going to be some mistake. I mean, to err is human, the saying goes, right? But it can eliminate a lot of that. And this is huge, particularly for this kind of industry. And of course, like after that, like even during operation of whether you're talking of retail and all, now you're seeing like Walmart has almost mandated, like any employee who come in to work for Walmart, they go through a VR training, right? The VR training, the beauty of this medium is that this is the next best thing to you doing something on job, right? But some of the mistakes or the corner cases that may happen, which you ideally don't want them to happen, right? How do you train people in a visceral way that they respond to those scenarios, right? Whether it's a fire that happens, or there is some robbery attempt that happens, then how somebody should behave, or how they need to, all of that you can really simulate in a VR environment without risking anybody, risking assets, risking employees. And obviously on a day-to-day basis, because you are training them in the VR environment, you're basically creating a visceral feeling. It's almost like you are doing it in the it kind of the signals that it generates on the mind is exactly same as if you are doing it physically there. So training has been humongous, like, and that's something that's been scaling in a big way. And there is a reason for it overall, because it's kind of little decoupled from the real day-to-day operation training. And as the technology kind of matures, and a lot of times it is about people having the confidence on the system, right? Technology, once you start developing the confidence on the technology, you begin to kind of incorporate across the board. And that's what we're going to happen. And that if somebody who's not going to be using metaverse or whatever we talk about, I mean, they're going to feel the pinch very soon.
Yeah. My wife's an interior designer, so we're building our empty nester house on the lake. So we're working on getting our permits are going to take a couple months, and we got clear. We our architect, she designed it, and it was in 3D, it was on CAD, and we've got the blueprints, and we're acting as the contractor. But I know my wife would be, you know, if she had a pair of glasses that she could go in there and like she goes on a color consultation.
Yeah.
So she can take her software that she does and she can say, hey, this is what sky blue will look like. But if you go with a baby blue, that, you know, but it would be great that if you know, the way I envision it is she would go on a consult, and then she would have glasses, and that she could be in the room with the client and say, hey, this is what we're going to do in the kitchen, or the fixtures, you know, I was thinking maybe we would do this. What do you think? And the other person's in there looking. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I'm saying. So you want to give them an example. Okay, I want the grill to look like this, right? And you basically said, okay, maybe not. Oh, how about this? It's not just trying to, the way we do show it on the pages. So think of it, we are actually having something physically right in front of you and doing it just, you know, you're just clicking your fingers.
It's just virtual.
And come. Yeah.
It's just virtual.
No, this is not only like, it's a huge, like, what is a confidence from a customer angle, and that they feel they are getting what they want, right? And even from whoever is kind of trying to sell, the interior designer and all that, it's for them a better way to shrink the cycle of conviction, right? So you basically remove the doubts by giving them how things exactly will look like after it's actually built, right? Because a lot of times we have seen surprises, right? When I got a couple of my apartments, you know, the same thing. Okay, no, this is not what I thought about, right? And there was surprised quite a few, right? And I thought it should be like this, right? You can completely eliminate all of that.
Yeah. So talk about, you know, you started your firm at 14, you know, then, you know, March 2020 came, everything kind of shut down. Now we're 3 years later. Talk about, you know, obviously you were working like probably going crazy, you know, the last 3 years, you know, just weathering the storm per se. But now this is actually coming into the mainstream. I mean, that's the goal. So talk about, you know, how you weathered the storm and maintained your you know, your consciousness of your direction of, hey, we've got to keep going this way, but we also have to kind of deal with whatever, you know, everybody else was dealing with, you know?
No, those 3 years were, I mean, obviously nobody was prepared for that, right? So when these things happen, right? So, and, you know, same thing for us. Luckily, the technologies that we are working was what kind of,
yeah, you guys were already set up.
The day. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? So, like, I know, I mean, it doesn't sound good, but I mean, overall, the whole, you know, 3 years was pretty bad overall for everybody. But if you look at for the AR and VR industry as such, it was the most decisive thing that really happened. So everybody, if you run a poll with most people who have in AR, VR, you tell them, like, what is the technology, this thing that happened that moved the needle the most? And you give them an option, you know, the COVID or whatever, you give them the option. I think 70% will say that the needle really moved because of that, right? Because a lot of things, what was happening was prior to that, it was mostly like, you know, people were dabbling, okay, this is a new technology and all of that. And I have seen in my 20 years that there are two critical things that needs to be in place. If you really want any new technology to be adopted, first is obviously the relevance, right? There should be a value, okay? The second, which a lot of times, a lot of people say timing, right? It's the urgency, right? When COVID happened, there was like so many places, they absolutely didn't know what to do, right? You cannot travel, but I still have a medical equipment to be taken care of. My maintenance guy can't travel because no more traveling is happening. Like everybody is distancing, right? The tool that could really save you is AR, right? You wear the HoloLens, like you can really turn somebody who is not even even once kind of repair or kind of fix any problem on an instrument, and give them a HoloLens and overlay instructions. You just have to tell him, take this latch out, take this tool, remove this. It's like stepwise, right? Mm-hmm. And this was huge, right? And all of a sudden you see that, okay, the business still has to run. And that's where like a lot of that traction like moved from people dabbling with some POCs and pilots to really strategically thinking about how they can incorporate the tool part of their entire digital transformation. And that is, I think, one of the biggest push that really gave AR, VR as an industry overhaul, that where we are now kind of able to move that. For us, luckily, there was, there's a lot of work actually we were doing with Department of Defense as well at that time. And I think that although the macroeconomics on overall, whether it's oil and gas or automotive and all of that kind of really crumble, but somehow we were able to see that through pretty well, and slowly begin to get more and more engagement and traction as the things kind of progress. And now I think I would say we are pretty well placed with all the engagements that we have.
Well, I could definitely see the military, with heads-up displays and all that. And then, if you could, put your pilot and they're flying a $200 million plane, and, what things can we make it easier, because the pilot's got to go through all these different decisions, even though the computer's there to help him, he's still, basically there. And the same, and you listen, drone technology has just been, it's amazing what, and my son, he works for Boeing. So,
awesome.
He's an AMP. So he's on the flight line. He fixes all the 787s that come off the line before they're delivered, and any of the ones that come back. But some of the stuff that he'll look at, they should have caught in the beginning of the manufacturing phase, that, if there's stuff that they could tweak, if they had the AR and the VR in there, which they do, I'm sure. But the bottom line is, you're still going to have those things that come up, even though, it's like me. I can look at my magazine 500 times before we post it, or when I was printing it, and then after it's done, I'll find a typo, and it'll be glaring, and I'll be like, I've looked at it 500 times. How come
tell me about it? Yeah.
But, so you're always going to have that kind of stuff that's going to come. Nothing's going to be perfect.
Sure.
But it's like I always just think, I use AI this example. If you're building a high story building, and all the AC ducts are all the same way. If a human puts it in there, it might be straight, but it's not going to be perfectly straight. But if you had an AI and a robot doing it, boom, 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 all those rivets are going to you perfect. Or they're going to be like a millimeter. You know what I mean? So I always use that example as, you could do it, but you can use it to improve your efficiency, and then find all the little things that they're going to come up. If you didn't know it, they're going to come up, but always going to be something. And as technology, maybe down the road it'll be 150% perfect, but like anything, you build it, you buy it, and you're like, oh wow, why did I get this one? I should have gotten this. Why did I get the bench seat in my truck? I wanted club seats, or so those kind of things you're just going to have to deal with. But for anybody out there, like before, over the last, let's see, I'm going to say the last 10 years, right when the big goggles were coming out, I'd be walking a trade show, I would stop at those booths and put them on, because I wanted to see what it was all about. And but I'm like the kind of guy that will not buy it right away, because it's just like a new truck that comes out. There's always going to be something. There's going to be a recall or whatever. I like things to like hang for a year and a half, get the bugs out, and then I'll come in and get it. But I still want to dabble, and I want to understand it. And so that's what I'm doing now in the digital thing. I'm kind of looking, and I'm like, okay, this is really cool. I could really, add this here, do this here. This will cut that out. And so that's why I had you on here. So if you're a construction guy or an end user, an architect, engineer, and you have not looked at this as an efficiency thing, you're going to look like, if you're at the forefront and you're going and talk to clients to land their business, and to be their architect of choice, and so forth, or whatever might be in that building process, facility maintenance, whatever, this is going to be a total tool in an asset in your tool belt, no pun intended. And so if someone wanted to get in touch with you and kind of just bounce some questions off you, or say, hey, I've tried this, but we ran into this, how would someone reach out to you to talk to you about GridRaster?
No, they can absolutely go to our website, which is www.gridraster.com, and there is a contact form they can absolutely reach, and they can also even reach me directly. It's pretty straightforward. My name, Dijam, Dijam, @ my company name, gridraster.com. That's it. Very simple. And a lot of one thing that I basically leave everybody, like when I talk about this medium, is that go try it first, because this is something no words, no images, no videos can really really make the impression what it is, unless you really put on those headsets. Go, there are a lot of meetups everywhere that happens on the VR. Just make an attempt, go there, just put it on. I'm telling you, the circumstance, because we are kind of coming as more like a service provider, trying to solve a problem for them. The real problem, really, they understand, right? Once they put it on, the ideas that will kind of stir from that very basic interaction, I think that is the game changer. Like, that's where the conviction begin to build, and you imagine that where things can really happen, right? And the other thing, with as with any technology, there are going to be glitches, like with everybody, right? It's still kind of shaping up. As a person, we are all, nobody is perfect, right? We are evolving. Same with technology. But look at the value that you can grab, even with all the constraints that are there, and what one we should be looking at. And that's what we try to say, even with any industry partner that we work with. Let's not treat it as something that will solve all the problem. No, it is not. It's can do certain things fantastically well. Let's just focus it there, and slowly things will evolve. And I mean, I'll leave with that thought.
All right. Hey, listen, I'm right there. My thought is, you got to get rid of the fear. You can't be scared of new technology and doing new things. You just got to go try it. And listen, I always look at the light bulb. Look how many times that they failed getting the light bulb to work, or the telephone. I can look to, the cotton gin. I can look at all these different things that were developed over the years, through the industrial age, but people make mistakes. You got to learn from them. But here you can eliminate a lot of mistakes because it's reality, So I'm right there with you. Get rid of the fear, go try it, and it's not for everybody, but eventually it's going to be, because that's the way things are going to be done, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's basically this, right? Okay, you want to go from a location A to B. There are many options that are there for you to go. You can really walk. You can really take your just bike it there. Okay, you can take a car. There are many options which are there. You find what it suits you, but each of them has their advantages and disadvantages. Just choose for yourself, like what works for you.
Yeah. So I'm in Atlanta today. I'm getting in the car because there's air conditioning. I'm not getting on the bike because I'm going to sweat my tail off. Okay. So, hey, if anybody wants to get in touch with me, you can get me at David C at ccr-mag.com. And first of all, we want you to hit this button so we can get the algorithms out there and find and get make sure everybody knows about GridRaster and Dijam, and so we really want you to hit that like button. So we appreciate that. Number two, content, just like my guest today. His publicist sent me something about the company, and I just kind of happened to be kind of in that direction that I'm going, and I thought, wow, this would be great to have everybody out there, because listen, there are contractors out there that don't even have smartphones these days, and that they have very, old equipment or whatever, but eventually everybody's going to have to adapt to it. I was always a PC guy. And then I've got my Mac, and then my son was all Apple, and then finally I got my Apple. And so now I'm proficient in both of them. And I like doing certain things on one and certainly, so trying different things to see what you like and what you don't like. But if you're in commercial construction, and you're rolling out all this stuff, and you're tied to the budget, and you're tied to the mistakes, and you're tied to the wins, here is something that's going to be in the future, is going to be able to make your life so easy. Like I said, you could sit in your office. Just picture this. You're sitting in your office. Are my readers up here yet? So here, just like our guest has, hey, let me go check this project out, and then you can sit up here and you can just kind of look around in your office and go, oh, there it is. Am I right? That's the way it's going to work, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You cannot make it to all the sites, but you could be there and still be able to see it in such a way that as if you are there on the site.
Yeah. So listen, I love technology now, and so it's an amazing thing, and you always want to try new stuff, and I always tell people, This is my, I'm going to ask you to leave a positive thought or phrase, but I always tell people, the day I stop learning is the day I should go do something else. So, you got to go with the flow, because this is the direction that it's going to go. You can be forced into it, or you can tip your toe in the water and then, maybe put your full foot in, or you can go full blast and figure it all out. But this, listen, here's a guy on the leading front of it. If you want to learn more of it, contact him. He's easy to get to. And if you wanted to leave one positive thought before we, say goodbye, what would it be to our listeners out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk?
I think I'll just say this, like as with anything, the anticipation or the anxiety of doing it is actually worse than actually doing it. So I'll say just do it, and you'll see the merits of it.
Yeah. I'll bridge myself, and just like I said, if technology is, it's scary, but you got to try. So you got to get rid of the fear. Just go for it, make your mistakes, and you're going to figure out. And there'll be probably other competitors that try to, now mine does this and all the new bells and whistles. But as long as you know what the foundation is, that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And, and learning, and having fun while you do it. And even if you make mistakes, it's okay, because that's how we all get better. You got to make mistakes. I'm an athlete guy. I had to learn how to throw a lacrosse ball. That was just practice. Yeah, it's one of those things. So, well, this has been great. Anybody out there, like I said, if you want to learn about this and you're thinking about it, or if you've seen it and go, what the heck are those things? Reach out to this gentleman. He's here. He's on the forefront of this technology. And down the road, I had a guest on a couple of weeks ago, and I said, look, I want you to call me back in 5 years and talk about what restaurants look like. You're not going to recognize them. You might, but you're not going to recognize them. They're going to look different, just like everything. It's all going to be different, and AI, hey, the genie's out of the bottle. We can't stick it back in the tube of the bottle, man. It's here, man. It's going to change. It's amazing stuff. So even dabble in that, go get your little account for $15, $20 on chat. You can do all sorts of stuff with that. And it learns from you. You can teach it how you want to run your business and how you want to get your answers. That's what's the coolest thing about AI. It's artificial intelligence, but it's intelligence, but you're going to give it the intelligence. So hopefully I'm saying the right things here, because it's just what I've learned. So anyway.
Absolutely. So each of them as a tool to kind of assist us. It's up to us that how do we want to use it. And really, like, by using it the right way, I mean, we can augment our experiences, in general, the real world, like make it even much better and get some of the tedious stuff, repetitive stuff, not necessarily anybody wants to do. Just get it out of the way and just focus on the things that we really want to do, right? Okay, so that's it.
All right, so before we sign off, 2 things, all right? You're on that construction site. We want you to be safe, okay? And listen, we could do the VR thing, and you can, see how you can make yourself safer on it, but we want you to be safe, so you go home, see your family, eat dinner, and then you get up and do it the next day. And it's really hot out there. Okay, so if you're in a hot state down like I am in Georgia or wherever you might be, drink lots of water, stay hydrated, because dehydration, oh man, headaches and all that stuff, it's the worst. So we want you to be safe on the site. We want you to stay hydrated, so drink lots of liquid. So Dijam, pleasure meeting you. I want to meet you in person when I get out to the West Coast on one of my trips, and I'll shake your hand, not do any fist pumps and all that stuff. And you can give me the virtual thing and show me, how I can implement my, with my magazine and stuff. I'm just thinking about all the things that I could use that for, just in general. Even my wife, hey, let's check this out. You see the CAD. Wouldn't it be cool just to sit in there in consultation, put your glasses on, and have your client right there and looking at it versus just a CAD drawing? And it's amazing stuff that's come down the pike. So that's why I had him, Dijam on here today, and we really appreciate you giving us all of your feedback. So say goodbye from the Bay Area.
Goodbye for everybody, and you all have a wonderful day ahead.
Yeah, and I'm going to sign off here from Sugar Hill, about 30 miles north of downtown Atlanta, just below the Beaufort Dam in Lake Lanier. And it looks like I need to get out on a boat tonight. I tell you, I got to get out on the boat. I've been on the boat all week and cool off in the water. So with that said, everybody have a great rest of the Thursday. The weekend's coming up. And listen, time's flying. We're in Q3, Q4, and before you know it, it's going to be Labor Day, and then you got Halloween, and then you got Thanksgiving. Before you know it, we're going to be ringing in 2024, and then VR is going to be all over the place. So, get used to it because it's coming. So, Dijam, pleasure. I look forward to meeting you in person, and everybody out there, we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Thank you so much, Dijam. This was awesome.
Thanks, David. I know, pleasure all mine. Yeah. Love to host you here sometime when you come and show you some of our work. Like, you're going to love it. Yeah.
Oh, no. Listen, I take everybody up on that. So you can't take it back. You just said it, so sure. We got a date. All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Ciao. We'll see you.
Bye. See you.